Hi. Today we're going to talk about a special category of bully, the law enforcement officer. So, no one outside of law enforcement has spent more time with law enforcement officers than I have. I've been arrested hundreds of times, and I've been on probation and parole for many decades, okay? And when I did major time in jail and prison, I often worked one-on-one on a first-name basis with county deputies and with prison guards. So I understand the mentality of the law enforcement officer, and I understand the bullies, the danger of a law enforcement officer bully. And so it is a very unique situation. It's not common, and so you do need help. You need help with this type of bully. And so I'm going to tell you exactly what you should be doing, okay? So let's define law enforcement officer. That could be a police officer, a sheriff, a border patrol, any law enforcement officer. Okay, so it could also be a prison guard. It could be a probation officer, a parole officer. Okay, so those are all examples. A bailiff is a law enforcement officer, but he's not bullying anyone. Okay, he might say, "Hey, don't talk in this courtroom." That's about all of it. Okay, so we're gonna skip the a meter maid is a law enforcement officer, but we're not talking about those types of, okay? Okay, so I want to start with a story to illustrate the problem of the law enforcement officer bully. Okay? Uvalde is a town in Texas that a couple years ago there was a mass shooting in the school, and the cops were too afraid to go in there. So they let the shooter just keep shooting. And he killed a lot of kids and wounded a lot more. And the parents were waiting outside the school. They were not allowed to go in and even rescue their kids. And so the cops have all this gear on, all their battle armor with the bulletproof vest and the helmet, and but they were scared to go in there. But they wouldn't let anyone else go in there. And so I want to highlight two cases where they were actual bullies. Okay? One was when the parents were trying to rush in. They couldn't stand there while their kid was getting shot. That's insane. Either you go in as the cop or I'm going to go in as the parent. So one lady, she was handcuffed because she tried to go in to rescue her daughter. She still got away from them and went in and rescued her daughter. Okay? But it did not go well because the media painted her as a hero, and they painted the Uvalde police as cowards. Rightfully so. But then they start harassing the lady. They start parking their squad car right in front of her house, and she tells the reporters that they would often flash the lights into her house from the squad car to let her know that they're watching her. So can you imagine getting up to go to work and you're pulling out and there's the cop right behind you? Okay, now you know how a criminal feels, huh? It don't feel too good, does it? Okay, but this cop could hurt you badly, okay? This cop could set you up. This cop could kill you and frame you, and any number of things. Could plant drugs in your car. This cop is out to get you, it's a bad situation, okay? So, another way that the Uvalde police are bullies, right? One of the parents went to City Hall, to the city council meeting, because 2 years later, none of those cops were fired or even disciplined for their cowardice. And none of them. In fact, many of them applied for promotions and received promotions. They were rewarded for their cowardice, for their terrible handling of that situation. They were rewarded for it. So one of the parents of the slain children in the shooting went to the city council to say, how unfair is this? No accountability and fuck. He said the F word. Immediately gets arrested. See how that's a coward, right? They had no problem quickly arresting a guy for saying the F word. He said the F word and he got arrested. But when it was an active shooter, they were scared, they were cowards. So this is a great example of police being bullies. But there are 1,000 other situations where police are bullies, okay? So I'm going to tell you another quick story about a friend of mine. His name is Mike Roach. I met Mike Roach in a juvenile forestry camp where they send bad kids. They say, hey man, before you go to prison, we're sending you this one last place. Hopefully you can get your act together. So we were both like 17, right? So Mike comes in there into the forestry camp. His charge was assault on a police officer, right? So a cop had words with the cop. They fought and he beat the cop up. And so he's doing 9 months in forestry camp, right? Well, in forestry camp they have a wood shop, right? And he makes this rocking chair. It's a small rocking chair, like maybe it's so small that you could hold it with one hand. It's like for maybe a 2-year-old could sit on it, right? It's cute. It's a cute ornamental thing. It's a pine. It's a pine rocking chair he made from woodshop. So it's his release date from juvie hall, from the forestry camp. So he takes the same bus that they all take, and he gets dropped off in Anaheim. And guess who's waiting for him right at the bus stop? The same cop he assaulted, right? And so he's all, hey, fancy meeting you. You know, he knew he was getting out, and it's not a coincidence that he's standing there on the day you get released. And so the cop wants a rematch. He's, he challenges him to a fight, right? Well, guess what happens? Mike takes the rocking chair, the wood rock, and he just clocked him in the head and knocked him out again. Goes back to the forestry camp. Back, you did not learn your lesson. But you can see how dangerous it is to engage a law enforcement officer. Now, that happened, 30 years ago? Okay? If it had happened today, you know what would have happened? When Mike swung that rocking chair at the cop's head, he would have been shot 12 times. Okay? You know this is true, right? Go ask a cop what would have happened ask a cop, what would happen if a citizen hit you in the head with a rocking chair? You said, blah, 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 blah. The cops would admit they would shoot that person dead, okay? So, cops, okay, here's the rule for dealing with all law enforcement officers, okay? And remember, I'm speaking from a position of extreme experience. There is nothing you know more in life than I know about police and their behavior. Okay, I've studied this in the penitentiary for decades. Okay, so I'm telling you, this is an unwinnable war. You cannot win this battle. I've never seen anyone win this battle. Citizen versus cop. Nah. They're going to get you. They play dirty. They are unfair. They will cheat and they will hurt you. And they're vicious and petty and revengeful. So this is an unwinnable situation. So what do you do in an unwinnable, when you have a bully with such tremendous power? I mean, let's talk about this. Here is a man who legally walks around with a gun. And at his discretion, he could just kill someone. Here's why you cannot win this battle. He has qualified immunity. So you know what that means? That means that under the law, if he shoots you dead on duty, you can't sue. He's not liable. You could sue the city or the agency, but good luck with that. Good luck finding a lawyer who's going to sue the city and who's good enough to win a lawsuit against the city or the county or the state, because the state has an attorney general to defend it from lawsuits. That means that's the best attorney in the state. And then your attorney is going to go up against that one. And your testimony as a citizen, or even as mine as a criminal, let's say the cop totally chopped off one of my fingers, right? And threw it down a sewer pipe, okay? Well, I may have proof. There's my fingers gone, okay? Maybe I have a video and everything, but my testimony versus a cop's testimony, which one has greater weight in the courtroom? If I testify in open court, guess what? They're going to bring all my previous convictions into they're going to present it as evidence of my moral character. And so the jury's going to say, man, this guy lies about everything. Maybe the officer had a good reason to cut off his finger. You only need one guy who feels strongly about supporting the blue line to be on that jury, and the cop's going to get it dismissed. Do you guys remember, I'm very old, right? So do you guys remember Rodney King? Okay, Rodney King was a video where we saw 10 cops beating Rodney King to death with these billy clubs. Wow. His face was like this, right? And so we all saw the video. You can watch it on YouTube. Just Google Rodney King beating, okay? Watch the video. You see the cops beating the guy. It's brutal, okay? He was found not guilty. How is that possible? We saw, you telling me that what I saw was not a crime? Okay, so the idea of you getting justice against a dirty cop who's out to get you, it's unlikely. What's more likely is if you keep playing this cat and mouse game, he's the cat. Eventually, the wise mouse runs. Get out of there. Get out of there. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. There are unwinnable situations with certain bullies, and law enforcement is one of them. You cannot win this battle. So take my advice. Get out of their jurisdiction. Okay? So if you're in prison and a guard is bullying you, he's got it in for you, man. He hates you and he's setting you up for beatings, and he's targeting you for harassment. You need to transfer immediately to another prison or to another part where he can't get to you. I would get out of that prison. Figure it out, man. You got to get out of that prison. You got to ask for a transfer. It's not going to be easy. They don't give prisoners transfers just because they're